This video contains accounts of violence and is suitable for mature audiences only. This video is for educational purposes only. The so-called Thieves' Candle, also called Thieves' Light, was part of an old magic belief through which thieves would get magical abilities with the help of corpse parts. To get certain body parts for spells, some robbers were willing to walk over mountains of corpses. This is the true story of a magical superstition that escalated to the point of serial murders, bizarre confessions, and public executions. Welcome to History Tower. True reports of magic with thief candles can already be found in antiquity, were common in the Middle Ages as well as in the Baroque period, and continued into the 19th and early 20th centuries. But what exactly were thief candles? Thieves' candles or thieves' lights were, according to old reports and trial records, magical candles made either from human fat or from severed, dried, and wax-coated children's hands. If a thief lit this candle at night during a burglary so that all fingers were burning, all the inhabitants of the house would fall into a magical sleep from which they could not awake. The thieves could not only rob in peace but also become invisible through certain rituals with the help of the thief candle or open all locks. The thief's light could only be extinguished with milk. This is presumably connected with the fact that milk is used to nourish children, and children's hands or children's fingers were used from unborn and not yet nourished children to make the thieves' candles, because according to pre-Christian beliefs, their souls would have a special luminosity. In addition, candles were also cast from entrails or human fat for thieves' magic. A magic ritual with human fat has been handed down from Bohemia, through which someone would be able to move as fast as an arrow. Doctors of the time also believed in the healing qualities of human fat, as a case from 1540 attests. Doctors recommended that a woman on crutches lean the shins of a hanged man against her stove and use the dripping fat as an ointment. She misunderstood the description and drank the human fat with beer in addition to the ointment. In Austria, the superstition was still widespread in the 19th century that ingesting human fat would lead to marks on the body by which young men could escape conscription into military service. The superstition about corpse parts took on different variants depending on the time and region. According to a 12th century tale by Caesarius of Heisterbach, thieves had placed a skeleton on a roof through which the inhabitants of the house would not be able to wake up, but one inhabitant could wake up with the help of an angel. In the 13th century, trade in the body parts of convicts was widespread because cut-off limbs, especially fingers, were believed to have a magical effect. The so-called thieves' thumbs were, for example, kept by innkeepers or put in beer to attract guests. Merchants used thieves' thumbs to sell their goods quickly and profitably. Card players used thief thumbs to win every game. In Flanders, a region in Belgium, sex workers put their thief thumbs under the bed to attract customers. In the book Dictionary of the German Superstitions, there are many accounts of true crimes due to corpse spells, especially with thieves' candles. Similar reports can also be found in my other sources. My list of sources is in the video description. There are also reports of witches and beggars digging up children's corpses to use some parts of them for spells. One such case happened, for example, in Althofen in the Austrian province of Carinthia, where in 1544 a beggar and his accomplice were accused of digging for a child's corpse in the cemetery in order to use both hands for thieves' candles so that the local residents would be under a sleeping spell during the robbery and would not be able to wake up. These incidents, however, pale in comparison to the trial accounts of gangs of robbers and mass murderers who preyed on pregnant women. The next part is not for the faint-hearted. Magic with body parts was a common superstition not only in the Middle Ages, but for centuries before and after. Some criminals report in trial records that they became aware of these spells through hearsay. The same was reported by a 22-year-old man who had been arrested in Upper Austria in 1644. His interrogation in January 1645 led to such bizarre statements and such a repulsive confession that the imperial punishment judge Johann Reininger immortalized the case in his interrogation protocol. This is the case of the cruel King of Hearts. The arrested man was called Michael Hecher and came from Frohnleiten, a small community in the Austrian province of Styria. He hadn't learned any trade and didn't want to work on the farm like his family, nor did he want to work as a servant. At 17 or 18, he left home, was briefly imprisoned twice for theft, and traveled back to his parents' home in Frohnleiten, where he impregnated 2 girls, to whom he suggested killing and eating their newborn children. When Michael Hecher was caught by his brother getting too close to a cow, he was thrown out of the family home. Michael traveled north again and met a group of men at a church fair in the small town of Burgstall, whom he joined as a porter. Only afterwards did he learn that he had joined the group of the King of Hearts. Each man in this group was given the nickname of the playing cards that were common at the time. Michael was called the Three of Hearts. Their leader was a small man with a red beard and red hair who limped on his right foot. His name was Veit Rotkopf or Veit Redhead, and he called himself the King of Hearts. Michael confessed that his gang had committed thefts and robberies. Above all, they had preyed on pregnant women, cutting open their stomachs alive in order to cut off the unborn children's right hands and remove their hearts from their chests. Then they buried the bodies in forests or threw them into the nearest river. Michael confessed to 15 murders of men and pregnant women, with their fetuses and babies cut out. The gang used the baby hens as thieves' candles to put all the residents to sleep with the thieves' spell. During the night robbery, Michael stood guard to warn the gang. The children's hearts were also taken because of an old superstition. According to it, someone who ate children's hearts would become either invisible, invulnerable, or insensitive to pain. This was of particular interest to criminals in order to escape punishment or to avoid giving incriminating evidence under torture. In the sentencing of Michael Hecher, the Three of Hearts, his crimes were listed and it was implied that he had also eaten parts of the murdered children with the King of Hearts, so probably the children's hearts. Eating human hearts for strength or magical powers was part of the superstition spread over centuries, just like the thieves' candle. But the robber gang was also brutal among themselves, sometimes killing members in a quarrel. Michael had also murdered a gang member with a club. Michael Hecher was sentenced to death by the wheel, but as a mercy, the ordeal on the way there was waived for him. He was then broken on the wheel, which was one of the cruelest manners of death in his time. But the King of Hearts is not an exceptional case. For centuries, bizarre and cruel incidents and series of murders occurred because of this superstition, with pregnant women in particular being waylaid and cut open alive at their stomachs. There are even reports of husbands selling their pregnant wives to robbers, and of the removal of the tips of the tongues of black cats and black dogs to make magical candles. Just as with the thief candle, many reports have been preserved about heart eaters. These reports and murder cases come from Austria and Germany, Bohemia, Hungary, Poland, Bosnia, France, England, Ireland, and Russia. There are certainly also some reports from other regions. In the Austrian municipality of Kindberg, just a short distance northeast of the place of origin of Michael Hecher, the executed Three of Hearts, was the territory of the so-called heart-eater Paul Reininger. Paul had been a 30-year-old farmhand who had committed a gruesome series of murders of women whose hearts he ate in order to become invisible. In April 1786, he was sentenced to death, but the emperor changed the sentence to 3 days of torture and perpetual imprisonment. The heart-eater of Kindberg died in November of the same year in Graz, the capital of the Austrian province of Styria. Today, hikers can still follow the Herzfresserweg or Heart-Eater Trail, which leads along the crime scenes at the time of the Heart-Eater.